Hey guys, VGLogic here, and today I'm going to be talking about a game called Ikaruga, or Ikaruga. This game has been released cross-platform, and not limited to just one generation of consoles either. Originally, Ikaruga came out in 2001 for the arcades. Shortly after that it was on the Sega Dreamcast, and then the GameCube. We also got an Xbox Live Arcade port too, and that's what I'm currently using. As far as I can tell, having played both this and the Dreamcast version, there is either very little or no difference between them. The company that made this game is called Treasure, or Treasure Games, and they have been responsible for some pretty amazing stuff in their time. Now Radiant Silvergun is probably the most notable if we were looking at shmups, but they also did Gunstar Heroes, which is a brilliant arcadey side-scroller on the Sega Genesis or Mega Drive, and they have also made a few Bleach games on the Nintendo DS and Wii. Ikaruga is a bullet hell shoot 'em up, or shmup for short, and as seems to be the trend with these sorts of games, it wears its difficulty like a badge of honour. Now in my Strikers 1945-2 video, I said there is variety in bullet hell shooters, but didn't elaborate on that at all. This makes Ikaruga all the more appropriate to talk about because it is very, very different. This game focuses on what they call the polarity mechanic. Your ship is either black or white, and that is almost instantly switchable at any time you like by pushing the switch polarity button. The way it works is simple. If you are the same colour as a projectile that hits you, you take no damage, you will absorb the shot. And if you are a different colour to the projectile that hits you, then you die. There are no other colour projectiles, just these two, so there is a counter and a way out of literally any situation you get into, providing your reactions are good enough. Also, when you absorb enough fire, you can unleash a volley of homing projectiles. They aren't like your usual bomb move in some shmups, but they are still useful and pack a real punch. So you may be asking yourself, especially if you haven't played it before, where does the difficulty come from? I mean, if you can absorb fire and you just make sure you're the same colour as what's hitting you, then is it really that hard? Well, in answer to that question, yes, it is hard. Very hard. GameTrailers.com even voted it in their top 5 hardest games at one point, and here's why. There are projectiles everywhere, right from the get-go. You can absorb fire certainly, but you'll die if you come in contact with anything else, so enemy ships, or in fact any of the scenery, both of which play an enormous part in all but the first level. Look at this one for example. This is just level 2. Sure, it's pretty to marvel at what a great looking pattern this is, but it will make you dead very, very quickly. Another thing that is of course a staple of such games is the bosses. They're more like timed set pieces here, with each boss attacking you with ever more complicated patterns and manoeuvres. Some will even try and crush your tiny ship against the walls, let alone pepper you with gunfire. Each level seems to be based on a theme, like level 3 for example, where you seem to be running a death gauntlet with barriers trying to squash you. And there's huge ships trying to chase you, with all this lunacy going on all around you, and you still have to concentrate on the colour of the projectiles? I think the difficulty comes from how much this game forces you to do at once. Keep shooting, avoid wrong colour bullets, keep switching polarity, avoid that wall, fly to the upper half of the screen to avoid getting squashed, use your homing shot to take that out. It's easy to be overwhelmed by it all, even if you're used to it, and a lot of the time you'll die because you were trying to avoid the scenery and the lasers, and the tiniest enemy pot shot you and you didn't even notice. What adds even more insult to this is the bullets are so damn obvious. They never disappear into the background or whatever's going on. Ikaruga doesn't need to be cheap to kill you, you just need to have reflexes of a god to survive. The part that probably dumbfounds me the most though, is that on top of all of this, you're expected to hit the enemies in sequence for points. It's a really simple system. All you need to do is hit 3 enemies of the same colour in a row, and it grants you a chain bonus, so extra points. You can chain and chain and chain and chain for even more score, and it's entirely optional, but damn, really? That's a lot to ask when I'm scraping through the skin of my teeth already. Don't expect a rating at the end of the level much beyond a C if you're ignoring those score chains. It makes me laugh like a madman when I've done ridiculously hard levels, dying only once or twice for the scoreboard to triumphantly come up like this. You got a C as in C for crap, try harder. You know something though? If this game wasn't so hard, I don't reckon it would have been praised so much as it was on release, or still be played by quite a large die-hard fanbase like it is today. There are true gods of Ikaruga who have mastered it in and out and who breeze those high scores and make it look like child's play. Sure, this game gains merit on looking absolutely beautiful, and it really does. It controls well, and it's simple gameplay, but that original mechanic as well, but the difficulty is definitely the icing on the cake. It's a real achievement when you have beaten it, regardless of what difficulty you did it on. Now, because all I've done really is talk about that difficulty, and this game deserves far more to be mentioned than just that, here's how the levels go. So first up, you have your introductory level. It's nice whoever designed the level knew how to hold back, and it really gives you a great learning curve to understanding the polarity mechanic the whole game is about. There are challenging parts like this bit here that can get a little bit confusing, but the boss is pretty forgiving at least. His patterns are quite easy to learn. Now next up, for stage 2, you seem to be in more of an underground bunker, or at least you do fly down a hole in the beginning of it. Bullet patterns are the name of the game here, a simple flowing one certainly, but still, patterns everywhere. I'm not sure if this makes it easier, because if it's a pattern it's easy to follow, but there are still doors and boxes to navigate, they weren't being that nice. The boss is also a real step up from the first one. Stage 3 steps things up a little further. There are big lasers everywhere, and that death gauntlet I mentioned, that's on this level. There's so much to think about here, and it feels so fast paced compared to the first 2 stages. The first bunch of times I played this game, this was the stage that I game overed on repeatedly. The boss has an absurd pattern to him as well if you get this far. Stage 4 is entirely set around this one flying fortress. The bullet patterns are tricky to focus on, and the few areas around the screen that are safe are so perilously close to the walls that they'll kill you on collision. I think this level encompasses everything I mentioned earlier though that makes Ikaruga so damn tough. The only real way to damage the boss when you get that far is to break down the barriers near its core and try and follow it without getting crushed. I'm really making a mess of it here, but trust me, it really is difficult. Stage 5 is the final stage, and it's primarily against this thing in its various forms. Needless to say, I died a lot, I'm not that good. But when you beat him, you do have a brief sequence of pure avoidance, no shooting, which is kind of cool. And after this, the credits roll, and you've won. Anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed watching. Hit that like button if you did, and subscribe for more random game content. VGLogic out.